Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Eventual Knits podcast. My name is Leah. I use she, her pronouns, and you can find me on Instagram as Miss_LJB and on Ravelry as Eventual. Today is Sunday, the 29th of October, and this is my last episode before Halloween, so I'm getting my spooky in now. And then, we're moving into November so fast. My God. It also feels weird having had 2 weeks between like regular podcasts. So I mentioned, I think, in my previous podcast that I was inspired by Michelle of My So-Called Handmade Life to talk about famous knits. And I started getting stuff together to share with Michelle, and I realized I had so many items that I wanted to do my own episode on it. And then once I started getting all that together and organizing it, I realized I actually had enough for a 3-part series: video games, TV, and movies. So I released part 1 last week instead of a podcast, and there were a couple of kinks. I was using Canva, and I am still going to be using Canva, but I didn't realize until after I'd put so many photos and stuff in that you couldn't, in the mode that I had selected, you can't do landscape, that it's in portrait. And so I found the presentation area where you can actually do landscape, and I have put my following images or following ones in that one. So, I'm leaning on my... I'll talk about this nightmare in a minute. But yeah, it's mostly for me. I mean, I think it's really interesting. Michelle just put out a video or an episode that was specifically talking about Gilmore Girls. And I've never seen Gilmore Girls. I have not seen one episode. I know nothing about the characters. But I found her episode really interesting just because I find knits in shows, and again, I say this in my videos, but knits refers to both final knitting and crochet items, and I believe that is, I should double check this, but I think that is the technical term for a completed project, whether it's a knit or a crochet. That is just called a knit when it's finished, I think. I thought I had looked this up before, but maybe I'm wrong. Also, if you can hear my cat, I don't know. One of my cats is just wandering around downstairs meowing loudly. But anyway, and so I just find them so fun. It's fun to talk about. And I feel like personally for me, a lot of this kind of thought about famous knits or famous items that are handmade was really launched in the Harry Potter movies for me. I read those books as a child. As they came out, they were very important to me at the time, and so when the movies started coming out, a big reason why I got into knitting was because I wanted to knit a Harry Potter book scarf. That was literally the thing that I was going to do. It's so funny because I never ended up doing that. I'm trying to think, was there anything that I ended up making from Harry Potter? I don't think so, but I did want to make a book scarf, and that is really that was the impetus to actually get me to start knitting. So I think that is important to note here. But the movies were very inspirational in terms of all of the knitwear that Mrs. Weasley's children had, and then of course the Harry Potter sweaters, etc., etc. And that was a really big deal at a time when YouTube wasn't a big thing, that the internet was a very different place. This was mid-aughts, 2007 was when I started knitting. And so I found all of that extremely inspirational. It's so cool to see hand knits. It's kind of like when you first notice video game music and you realize how good some of it is and how important it is to that video game, or just man, this random platformer has banger music, and then you start noticing the music everywhere. And so anyway, that's how I feel about famous knits, knits that are in pop culture. And so I'm just doing a little series on it, and it is a departure from my normal podcast, but I find it very enjoyable to talk about, and I'm very interested in other people's sort of inspirational knits, or what you watch and see famous knits in. So that's what that series is about. If you're interested, please check it out and leave comments on your own inspiring knits. Speaking of inspiring knits, what am I wearing? I am wearing my completed Boneyard Sweetheart sweater by Telly B Knits. I finished it a couple days ago. I put it on right away. Only the yoke is blocked, and I really like it. The sleeves are actually not as long as I was making them look. They're perfect length. And the only thing that bothers me about it being unblocked is, of course, the ribbing's a little bit uneven, but the bottom ribbing flips up a little bit because it has not been blocked out. But let me show you the yoke. It is so good. So yes, this is a pattern by Telly B Knits. I mentioned I think in my last episode that I thought that the neck was looking a little wide, but it ended up perfect. So again, like, I already blocked the yoke, so I'm not gonna, when I block it again, I'm only gonna block from like here down, and then yeah, same here down from the sleeves. So it's perfect. This is exactly the kind of neckline that I want. It's not stretched. And I normally do a much longer ribbing here, and obviously I just follow the pattern exactly, and I really like it. It's very nice. Graham! Steve's like down there in the game room recording, and he's just sitting outside the door meowing. just sitting outside the door meowing his head off. So this naughty cat. Stop being naughty. Anyway, so this sweater is Fiber Nymph Dye Works, Mountain Tweed DK in lime, and this is Onyx Fiber Arts in The Sky Was All Purple, I think. This white is Lion Brand DIY Glow in whatever, white basically. It's not called white, but it is. They only have two different kinds. So, and I think one of them is whatever that kind of yarn is that you use for plushies. And it's a worsted. And then this is a Barocco Vintage DK in black. And yeah, so I love it. It's so beautiful. I love this detail. I know that I've already gone through this whole thing on my friend Sean's sweater that I knit first, but maybe you haven't seen that episode or seen those. So what's really cool is instead of ghosts, if you want, you can do hearts where the ghost is, but I really like the ghosts. This yarn glows in the dark, and I can verify that this yarn is fantastic at glowing once it has been charged. I accidentally wore it when I was feeding my son before I put him to bed, and it's like this dark room and this bright skeletons and ghosts. So it's very fun. It's very comfy. It feels really good. The pattern has you knit the body for only 10 inches before you do the ribbing. I'm pretty sure I knit to like 13 inches, and then I did the ribbing, which was 2 inches. And then for the sleeves, I think it wants you to knit 9 inches before you do the cuff, and the expected length of the cuff is 5 inches, I believe. And mine only came out to like 4.25 or something. All my details are in my project notes on Ravelry, and I'll link that below. But my row gauge, it's funny because my stitch gauge is often bigger, like I am a loose knitter, but my row gauge is usually shorter. I'm not really sure why that is. And by usually, I mean it always is. I'm very consistent at my knitting. So I knew that this was gonna end up being shorter, and I would like my sleeves longer. I really hate when my sleeves are like this, like torture. I need it to be long, at the very least coming up to my hand. So I knew that knitting longer would be good. I think I knit like 11 or 12 inches or something. Again, pattern page. But yeah, I could not be more pleased with this sweater. It is so comfy, and the weather has suddenly turned here in Minnesota. If you live in the northern hemisphere, we're getting into getting into those winter months, for those of us up north especially. So yeah, it's exciting being able to actually wear sweaters again. And I realized a few days ago, so I was like thinking like, I'm missing my basic raglan, which is also in a Fiber Nymph Dye Works tweed. I was like, I'm missing that. And I was like, oh wait, I'm also missing this other thing and this other thing. And I was like, how did I lose that many knits? I realized I must have packed up knits when I was pregnant that I couldn't fit into. And they're probably in, I mean, they're in my cubby hole, I'm sure. I have a big, like, under the stairs, like, storage in my house. And so I need to find those so I can wear them now that I can fit into them again. I'm so excited. I love winter sweater season. So yeah, that's what I'm wearing. So happy. So happy. Yeah. Okay. So this disaster here. So for a long time, if you watched any of my older episodes, especially previous actually to when I came back to podcasting in September, I had those white cubes. They weren't actually from, I know everyone always refers to them as like the IKEA cubes, but I'm 99% sure I bought mine from, actually I think I bought mine from Target. Yeah, I bought them from Target. They're 13 inches, not 11. And they're 9x9 or 3x3 to make 9. And when I was pregnant, we were like, oh, let's, I mean, I can't tell you how many people are like, your kid is gonna get into your yarn, whatever. And it's like, yeah, that's true. Who cares? It's just yarn. Like, I'm a really good detangler. I'll protect my yarn. But we thought maybe cubbies with doors would be good. We didn't realize how like unsturdy this stuff was going to be, and it is not doing well with the weight of the yarn. Yarn adds up after a while, so once one comes apart, then the whole structural integrity is compromised, and now the whole thing is coming apart. So we're gonna go back to the white cubes, but behind me is our living room, which is basically like a square. We have like an opening here to the left of me, and then an opening, like this is the main wall that separates the kitchen from the living room, and it has 2 entrances into the dining area and the kitchen. And so there's another one over there. Our thought is we're going to put up baby gates or some other kind of barrier, and then we can actually move my yarn shelf over to the wall after the, like, that's going to be beyond the blocked off space in like the dining room area. And like, this is a nightmare. We do not want to manage it. No, sorry, waste of money. No, I would not recommend buying these. They do have detachable doors where you don't have the doors on, as you can see right now, because I hate not being able to see my yarn. And so right now, though, that those cubes are in Quinn's room, I'm like, wait, we have 2 sets of cubes. Where are the other cubes? Oh, we repurposed those for our bedroom. Yes, so the cubes are in Quinn's room because I really like having, again, like an open space with a contained amount of toys or like whatever, things that he can interact with. And we'd have to anchor that down if once he can start, pulling on things. And we thought 9x9, not great. So I ordered a set of, I think it's 8, so 4x4, and heavier, sturdier than the ones that we currently have. And then of course we'll anchor them, but shorter, so can't pull them on top of himself as easily, and just wider. And then we're gonna take that 9x9 back out here, or 3x3 back out here in the blocked off area and put my yarn there. We don't have any we have very limited wall real estate in this house, and so that's gonna have to be where it goes. And that'll be fine. And then we don't have to worry about this stuff. Those cubes are fantastic. They're very sturdy. They fit. It's funny because there's 12 of these, and I can fit more yarn in each one, but it's the same amount, maybe even less yarn than I had in the 13x13 cubes, and I mean that inches wise. So yeah, anyway, that's just interesting. the one thing that is a big benefit of these is that it has a back on it. I really like yarn not falling out of the back like on the current ones, and I know that could just be solved by getting some like fiber particle board or something and just screwing it in, and maybe I'll do that at some point. So yes, ignore the disaster behind me. We're figuring it out. There's a whole moving parts thing going on right now while we're trying to organize, as my child is 6 months old and starting to show the first signs of maybe mobility. No, he's showing signs of mobility. So yeah. But yeah, so that's what I'm wearing. That's my yarn situation. Then we'll just be moving the podcast to a new location, but you probably won't be able to tell the difference. That is the only thing that I have finished. This sweater is the only thing that I have finished recently because I was working on it. That was the only thing I was working on for a while because I wanted to get it done before Halloween, and I wasn't able to knit every single day. We had a lot of things going on this month. I guess I did finish my Spooky Nights beanie, where I did put the fuzz on the inside. I should go grab that. Okay, so I finished the Spooky Night beanie. I still haven't put the pom-pom on yet. That's around here somewhere. But what I wanted to do was put some fuzz on the inside, and I don't sew, so I figured I'd just knit a double hat and then tuck it in. And I used a bulky yarn. Was it successful? Yeah, it was decently successful. The hat itself is really cute. It is extremely bulky now, and I probably picked up stitches too close to the brim. I don't know. Let's see, what do you think? I might have too many stitches, so they're kind of like mashed in there a little bit. Yeah, let's see, what do you think? Hold on. I'm gonna get this. So this is what I'm saying about like too close, too close to the brim, I guess. So like it's pulled down. Okay. I know I mentioned on my last episode that I didn't know what I was doing and I just picked up stitches. Okay, that's not so bad. And so now with the black pom-pom, I really think that could be cute. I initially was thinking that the the stitches are really stretched here, but I suppose that that's not a big deal when you're like people from afar. I was a little bit nervous that I picked too close to the brim and see it pulls it down, and I'm just kind of like particular, like I want it up, but honestly it's not gonna matter. It's definitely very warm. It does come down and cover my ears, which is nice. I actually, I think I like it. It's just like I have to get it in the exact right orientation, and I haven't put the pom-pom on yet, and I was not smart enough to think I should put it on before I knit the second part. And I think it was because in my head I was going to actually catch some of the stitches so it's permanently in there and not like a loose muscle burra where it's just always a tube and then you just tuck it. Like I wanted to secure it down, and that's what I did for a mitten pattern, the mitten pattern that I had once, where it had just a regular mitten on the outside and then the fluff on the inside, and it had you secure it at the end. And so in my head, that's what I was going to do, is secure the inside, but I'm nervous to do that because what if I secure it in the wrong spot, because I can't, anyway, so that's my issue. That's a future issue. But I mean, look at that, that's pretty cute. That's pretty cute. And this is a Spooky Night beanie by Erin Gates, and the yarn it was a kit put together by Knit Circus Yarns, with 3 of their tonals or semi-solids, depending, I don't know what they refer to them as. But yeah, so this my spooky outfit. Yeah, so I did finish that in the last couple weeks. And then the last thing that I have finished thus far is I am caught up more. Oh no, this is I don't think so. I think because of the fact that all of the rows are pretty similar looking as they fade into each other. I'm always like, did I already talk about this? But we're going for it. I finished the next couple of rows on my temperature blanket that I'm making for Quinn, my son, for his birth year. So we are through the first week of October. On the 23rd was when I had enough temperature days to do the next row, the following row. I just haven't done it yet. So this signifies October, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. So we had a lot of pretty warm days in October up until now. Now in Fahrenheit, it's like, today was in like the 20s, which is below 0 in Celsius. And yeah, like it changed really fast. But yeah, like this red means that the average was 80 Fahrenheit for that day. Anyway, so 80s, this is 50s, this is 60s, and this is 70s. So I'm through October, or through the beginning part of October, and then yeah, we have October, November, and December, and then the whole thing will be finished. Oh, it's the perfect size, and it's gonna look so cool. I know I talk about that every time, but we're getting there. We're making progress, and I have a feeling we'll be able to get hopefully more of these neutrals that are in the sort of cooler temperatures, but before they get really cold. Maybe, I think this is 40s. I think this one's 40s. And then this Dewberry, I know is the name of this one because I use so much of it in the spring, is I believe 30s, and then 20s, and then teens, and then like 0-ish. And then I think I have one color for below 0. Is that this one? Yeah, I think this was below 0 Fahrenheit. You can see where I had I was just connecting the squares at the 2 join points, and then I was just joining them on one point there, and then I did not like how gappy that was, and so I learned a technique where you do the join points, but then when you're connecting one way, you connect diagonally, and then on the way back, you connect diagonally again, and so that cinches it up, and I like it so much better. I feel like it keeps the blanket a lot more together. So yeah, that is my crochet. This is not there's no pattern for this. I'm just doing magic ring, 1 row of 4, and then joining across the top, and then coming down and back. So do 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 do, and that's my blanket. And it's coming out to be like the perfect size. It's not the oversized gigantic like temperature blankets that everybody else does. I'm doing the averages for temperature in the Twin Cities of Minnesota. So yay. So that's everything that I have finished thus far for this episode. I'm gonna take a sip of my tea here. I'm drinking a spearmint and chamomile. I love chamomile. This is a mug by one of my favorite people. I have two really this kind, I shouldn't even say this kind because they're not remotely alike, but two mug designers that are not knitting or craft related. So like I love so many different kinds of mugs from craft that are related to crafts, like, you know, sheep, wool, knitting patterns, like I'm saying like a stockinette stitch or something like that, or a cable, etc. Or like buying mugs from people who vend at like yarn shows, or yarn shows, but just straight, just like art on a mug. And one of them is Hammerly Ceramics, and I drink coffee out of a lot of those mugs. And then this one is Forest Ceramics, and I love their different rainbow editions. Actually, most of what we have from them are space themed, and we decided to branch out and get this sort of like desert rainbow, and I cannot get enough of it. I love it so much. And this size is really nice. I really like their pint glasses, but they're really expensive, especially for right now when we have a child in daycare and student loans. This was much more affordable, and I love it. So yeah, so what is next? The world is my oyster. What am I going to be working on? I have so many things that I want to make for winter. So many things I want to make. Do you find at all that you don't wear your knits very much? It's like a weird question to ask of someone who is a like prolific knitter, but hear me out. I started making sweaters only a few years ago. For a long time, I didn't think that I could do sweaters. I thought they were too advanced. I thought there was no way I could make a sweater that fits me in a good way. And to be honest, I was right at first, which makes sense because I'd never made a sweater for myself before. I didn't have any good sense of what would fit me and what doesn't fit me, and what kind of a cuff do I like? How stretchy do I want it? How do I make it stretchy? What feels good in terms of body length? How big is my actual yoke depth? What feels comfortable in terms of shoulder shaping? Do I like raglans or not? I freaking love raglans. I obviously love a good colorwork yoke, but I love raglans too. But it's like I want to say because of work from home life that I'm in temperature controlled environments all the time, and so I don't often find occasion to wear sweaters, but that's like not even true because I wear sweatshirts all the time. We keep our house cool. We keep it basically 68 degrees year round. It's probably a little bit, give or take a degree in terms of actual temperature upstairs here. We live in a split level house. But it's more just like I just don't find myself reaching for my sweaters, and it's not because they're not comfortable. It's not because I don't like their fit. It's like just this mental block in my brain where it's like I really like I have so many sweatshirts. I have so many sweatshirts, and I used to be a really big hoodie person. I mean, if you see pictures of me when I was growing up, like my like wardrobe, my style was flare jeans and an oversized hoodie, and that was my jam, especially in school because it was so cold all the time. I literally bought oversized sweaters so that I could tuck my legs and wrap my sweater around my knees in class. I was like a really skinny person, and like I'm short, so I was able to like do that, squeeze into my desk and like put my sweater over my legs. And then in the last several years, I've kind of become much more of a crew sweater person. Like the hoods are feeling bulky. I want my neck. It's so funny because I don't want a big wide neck, but I don't want a neck that is choking me either. And with hoods, I feel like they pull back a lot. They get my hair all messed up. Like my hair is already frizzy enough, and so having a hood there just makes it even worse. And that's also why I don't wear shawls as much as I feel like I would. And I love knitting shawls. It's so frustrating because I love to knit shawls, especially like a full-ass 3-skein shawl, like something gigantic and textured with some color. I really, really enjoy knitting them, even though they take like as much or longer than a sweater to knit. I really enjoy them. I don't know why. And then I never ever wear them. And a couple times I've gone through my shawls to try to give them away because I have several knitworthy people in my life or people who love stuff. So like my mom is a really good example of someone who I think would happily take several of my shawls if she felt like she was actually going to wear them. But every single time I've taken them out, I've been like, no, I want to wear this or I want to wear that. And I rarely wear them. I rarely wear my shawls, especially. I'm better about scarves or cowls, but not that much. And I've been making a concerted effort like this year and last winter well, I was pregnant, so I guess that doesn't really count, but in my head, I've been making a concerted effort to wear sweaters. And like, I finished this a few days ago and I've been wearing it constantly. I'm looking at my Lunar Rising, after I had made my Lunar Rising was like one of the, I think the first like full sweater I made for myself. And last year I went through and I redid it. Did I do I think I did a podcast episode on it. Maybe not. Excuse my face getting really close to it. I'm actually going to show you right now. So Lunar Rising is a pattern by Tina Say, and it's a very cleverly created full rib, wide rib, traveling rib knit. And so this design like sort of weaves in and out, and it goes all the way down, and then it has sort of a wide sleeve that comes down in a nice cuff. I love, like, I picked these colors out myself. They're 2 or 3 different, they might all be from different dyers. Again, information's on my pattern page, but this sweater had a ton of issues, and even though I really liked it, and I did actually wear it a decent amount in terms of like how often I wear a sweater, but there were several issues with it. One, this part, the yoke, I have no words today. The collar was way too wide. The body was just, it's so hard to describe. Someone I know who does a lot of testing for Tina, and who also maybe did test this pattern or made it as well. Her Instagram handle is Knotty Knotty Ginger. Her name is Abby, and she also said, like, yeah, I don't know, something about it was just an awkward fit. And I think we both determined that it was that having that sort of ribbing pattern travel the length of the sweater made it really bulky, or like there was a bunch of extra fabric. So like when I finished the sweater, I was able to like gather like handfuls of it and still have a bunch of positive ease. And I did at one point go back and reduce the number of stitches but still follow the pattern, and that was not it. Like it did not help. And so I think Abby was like, no, I think it's just like the stitch pattern making it so wide or so stretchy, or just have all this extra fabric. And finally the cuffs were way too tight, and because it was partly because it was one of my first real sweater that I knit for myself, I was like impatient at the end of the cuffs, like, whatever, I just made them tight. So and then finally, not my fault exactly, I say exactly because I don't do anything about it, but I have moths always, those little white moths everywhere all the time, no matter what I do, all seasons of the year, just whatever. So there were several holes in this sweater, because I don't store my sweaters in airtight containers, and so I had to rip back. So I ripped back to the bottom of the yoke, where the final color change basically starts, and then this is the front. So I kept the pattern up until past the yoke, and then I knit, I reduced a bunch of stitches, like I want to say like 80 stitches, something like that, like a lot of stitches. And then I just knit to the bottom, did a nice little rib. I slip stitched around the collar to cinch it up. It's still a little wide, but definitely not falling off my shoulder like it was. It's so cute, this little lace detail. And then for the sleeves, I just ripped out and then redid the ribbing and bound off much more loosely So like I have no issue with this sleeve, for example, and this I just bound off in rib and just really loosely in pattern, as they say. But because I went through the effort, like basically re-knit this whole body, I love this sweater now, and I wear it. I do wear this sweater a lot. And so I'm just saying, sometimes maybe the problem is with the fit, and there needs to be some change. Of course, you know, some people might think it's not worth it and they'll just undo it. But again, I am in love with the colors, with the fade. I mean, I fixed so many holes in this sweater, and I love it. I'm so proud. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't tend to wear knits as often as I feel like I should or that I want to. For the amount of knitting that I do, knitting is my main hobby. I love video games, but I watch video games because I like to knit. It's really, if I have to pick between video games and knitting and reading, honestly, I'm looking at my unread books, I pick knitting first. I love to knit. I feel like I am a project knitter, like I want the finished item, but I think I'm equally a process knitter because I really enjoy the act of knitting. Or maybe it's like I enjoy working towards the finished product. Is that different? Is that the same? I don't know. I guess I don't like, I'll talk about it in a second, but when I'm working with quins, there was some back and forth knitting, and I don't even hate purling exactly, but for something that I'm used to knitting in the round, if I do have to switch to doing stockinette by knitting and then purling across, my brain is like, inefficient, why are you doing it this way? But as a rule, I don't hate purling. It is one of the 2 stitches that you do in knitting. Like, I don't like to limit myself by saying I hate purling, but I also am a thrower, so I make really big motions with my knitting. I am fast. I'm for the knitting style that I do, I think I'm pretty fast. But it is still a really big motion. So when I'm doing a bunch of purling, I'm like, ah. Yeah, so I don't know. So do you find that as well, that you make products and then you don't wear them? Or I know a lot of people give them away. I also know a lot of people get really attached to their items and are like devastated when they lose them or something bad happens to them. And one thing I would say is, if like this sweater, let's say I'm finished with it, next week I find out a moth has eaten a bunch of holes in it, depending on, let's pretend that it was like not salvageable, like that I couldn't fix it. I'm okay parting with it. Like, I finished it, I got a lot of joy out of it, even in the short time I had with it, and I'm okay. Like, really, that is how I am. I'm not going to be insanely heartbroken if something I knit is like irreparably harmed or lost or something. I mean, my Till Death mitts, I mentioned this in a different episode, but like they have tons of moth holes in them and I still wear them. They're still wearable, and I don't really think they're worth trying to fix. I had that yarn that I had for that, long gone, you know, like, it's not worth it. But I do like them, and until they're completely unwearable, I'll just keep wearing them. Things that I've knit for other people, as long as they're actually knitworthy, and by knitworthy my definition is like they enjoy the knit, they utilize it, or otherwise, you know, let's say like if I knit you a scarf and you just looked at it all the time or whatever, like you just saw it and it made you feel good, that counts, I think. Or maybe you only wear socks that I knit you on a very special occasion. Like, all of those are fine. Someone who's not knitworthy is someone who I make something for and they don't care about it. Like, they're happy at the time, but then they don't care. Like, maybe they get rid of the item right away. Maybe they don't tell me that they don't want me to knit them things, or maybe they don't, you know, they don't want the, I don't know, like, someone who's not going to appreciate the item, I guess. And like, not like, fine, that's fine. That's okay. That just means I don't need to make you stuff. Don't waste my time and I won't waste your time, and that's totally fine. But if you're a knitworthy person but you're also someone who loses things a lot, I don't really think that I would take it personally or it would upset me if they like lost it. Like, let's say I knit a pair of gloves for my mom and she lost one of the gloves. Like, I wouldn't be like, oh, you know, she doesn't know how to take care of her knits. It's ungrateful. I work so hard on that. I don't think that. I'll just make another one or a different pair, you know, like that. As long as you're not coming to me every week and being like, I lost another glove. That's just wasting my time, and I'm a very selfish knitter. That's the crux of it. I'm a selfish knitter, so I come first and then I follow up with other people. I digressed hugely, but anyway, I just want to know how people find their knits. And just okay, an example is, oh my god, the Yarniacs podcast. They always talk about what they're wearing. They live in California, and so it's like, you know, like kind of cooler, beachy, like, you know, it's very temperate all the time. And they talk about how they wear shawls in the morning. And I'm like, I would never wake up and think, I'm gonna put on my shawl and go have a cup of coffee outside. I might put on a sweater and bring out a blanket, a non-knit blanket, because I don't really have any knit blankets that are like wearable to keep me warm. And so it's like that, like those kinds of layering pieces, I just never think about. I wear my shawls as like an artistic statement mostly, like not as something I'm actually gonna wear to sort of keep me warm. And maybe that's a me thing, because I'm extremely particular about my temperature. I'm like very sensitive to both hot and cold, and it's really annoying because before I got pregnant, I was cold all of the time. Now I feel like my temperature gauge has shifted, and I do run warmer now. But still, I'm like, I heat up really fast and I cool down really fast. And so I hate having to put on and take off a bunch of pieces. So maybe it's a me thing, but let me know how it works for you. Okay. I went on for a lot longer than I had intended. So what am I working on? One thing I'm working on is I'm going to be making my child a lot of knits, because baby knits are so fast. I started like yesterday, a Little Sock Arms by Telly Bean Knits for Quinn. So Little Sock Arms, the idea is a sort of, I know this is plants been touching me this whole time, a solid or plain sort of body, and then the sleeves are a self-striping, like a sock yarn. And so what I'm doing is, this is actually leftover, I think Golden Harvest is the color, from Sun Valley Fibers, from Sean's sweater that I knit them a couple years ago. Actually, the literal first full sweater I made. Sean is smaller than me, and therefore knits go by faster when knitting for them. And anyway, so there's a bunch left over, and I knit the body for Quinn, and this is supposed to be 6 to 12 months. It's going by really fast, one, because it's a baby knit, but two, the main needle that we're using is a 6, I think, which is what, a 4mm? Okay, I love that ChiaoGoo puts their stuff on their needles, but it's always hard to find like where it's actually stamped on or entered in. Yeah, 4mm needle is a 6, and the 6 is big for fingering weight yarn. So this is Sun Valley Fibers MCN Merino Cashmere Nylon, so it's ultra soft and decadent. And then the yarn that I'm going to be using for the sleeves is leftover Hyrule's Hero, aka Link, in a long self-striping, so there'll be long stripes. The gold doesn't match exactly, but I figure it'll be fine. And I have this much left after knitting Steve's socks. Oh, because I only knit him one sock out of here, and I used the other one from the Zelda colorway, but I believe I used all of that yarn. If not, it's somewhere that I can't find. But I'm gonna do the sleeves out of this. I expect to be done with this right quick. Yeah, so that's what I'm working on for Quinn. I hope to be making him a bunch of sweaters for the winter. He looks adorable in sweaters, and he doesn't seem super sensitive to materials thus far. He actually really likes literally the mouthfeel of knits in his mouth, so I'm not concerned for that. And then the other thing I just started today is Musso by Espace Tricot, and it is a top-down sweater that's supposed to be knit with 2 strands of mohair held together with some pretty big needles. This is an 8, which is what? Oh, it just says US 8, so I don't know how many millimeters it is, but I actually have several balls of Lion brand FOMO, and this is actually a medium weight of 4. And so I'm not holding it together because it is the equivalent of 2 strands of mohair held together. And I know exactly what I bought this yarn for, but I don't see myself making it anytime soon. And it's a hyper cropped short sleeve that maybe not, maybe, I don't know. The one I'm thinking of is something from a Pom Pom magazine, but I don't know. I probably have it somewhere in my Ravelry, but too late, I found something else. So I cast on and I knit the short row shaping, and I'm just about to start increases. This is a just like oversized, it's supposed to be 6 to 10 inches of positive ease. It has lots of sizes. I believe it is size inclusive, but I'm gonna probably knit it with like 4 inches of positive ease. I picked a size that's a little bit smaller, but what I really like on it is I love like bell sleeves or puff sleeves, where it's like really wide and then it comes really close in and it's just like poof poof poof, right? I love a good sweater like that, and I already have the pattern, so I'm gonna make it, but there are so many patterns that I want to be knitting this winter for myself. Aro Knits, I follow Aro Knits here on YouTube, and she has just like, it's so fun when someone has like a style that they just know and that they have, and I tend to wear bright colors a lot of the time, and I have a few like more plain items, but almost nothing neutral. Not a lot of neutrals. Even in my like stash, I don't have a ton of neutrals, or I don't like reach for them. But she loves all shades of soft pink, soft grays, soft blues, to some extent, but mostly the soft pinks. And I would say that we are probably built relatively similar overall. I think we're around the same height, and I do think we have a decently similar build. And so whenever I see something on her that she knit, I'm like, oh my God, I want that. It looks so comfy and cute. But I'm also not nearly as like, my style isn't like delicate like hers. And so I have to like pick and choose what patterns I'm actually going to like wear. And the thing is will I wear something that's just straight mohair? Or this is faux mohair, you know, I'll have to wear something underneath it kind of thing. So we'll see like how it turns out. I don't actually have a dress code for work, but I do like to think about whether or not it's like work appropriate. I'm on Zoom. It doesn't matter what I wear 90% of the time. I don't usually have to go on campus, but it'd be nice if I could wear one of my own sweaters on campus, assuming I wouldn't, you know, sweat to death from walking across campus and then being nervous for the first, 10 minutes of presenting of whatever I'm presenting. But yeah, that's really all I'm working on. My stitch marker is one of those little Debbie cakes from Simply Serving. I love these. I also have a zebra cake. They're so good. They also do have like the cosmic brownies, but I didn't want a big rectangle as a stitch marker. But I do really enjoy Simply Serving stitch markers, even though I know that there's probably plenty of other small businesses out there also that do like similar style stitch markers, but I can't find them. So if you have any suggestions. let me know. Oh no. So I did get a comment on my last video that was like, girl, you gotta undo that sock. And I know they're right, but I don't want to. But the sock that I'm working on for Steve, it did say to increase every row. And like, what is this shape? What is this shape? So Steve has gigantic feet. It's not as bad as it could be. It is looking a little bit more square than it does in real life, but it's bad. It's really bad. So I have to undo it, but I don't want to, but I should. And I don't have to actually start completely over. I just have to start, you know, over after the first row. So I don't have to recast on if I don't want to. But anyway, this is a sock for Steve that I'm gonna have to rip out and restart. I just don't want to, so I haven't yet. But that is it for all of like my creations. We'll see if I release my next Knitspiration series video on Famous Knits, which will be on movie knits, if I record and release that next week, or if I'll do a podcast. We'll see how my week goes. But a few other things really quick that I want to talk about is I just need to show you my this little pumpkin that Quinn painted at daycare. It's so okay. Look, there you go. I was like, it's looking way more brown. It's so cute. The daycare ladies say that he gets really into, they do tons of sensory stuff with the kids, like so many things. Like I'm pretty sure he has like 4 projects that he worked on. Like they must do like 1 a week, maybe even more often than that, because it's not just projects. Like last week they had him play with pumpkin guts, you know, and he loves that kind of sensory activity. He loves hands-on stuff. He loves to squeeze things and touch them and, you know, put the paint on the pumpkin and touch glue. You know, he's very into that, and his daycare is really good about providing those opportunities, and I really appreciate that for him, because he really wants to be involved in his life, or in life. Like he wants to see everything and he wants to do everything, and so I thought that was really cool. So we did buy a pumpkin, a smaller pumpkin, not bigger than this one, but smaller than like a full-size pumpkin, and we're going to tomorrow or on Halloween day, I'm not sure which, have him play with the pumpkin guts there too. Just give him some more stuff. Otherwise, we went to a Halloween party yesterday, just like a get-together we've gone to for the last 15 years, at our friend's sister's house, also a friend, and we haven't seen her since Quinn was like a month or 2 old, maybe 2 months old or something. And she had gifts for us, and they are of a crafty nature. One, we have this little Triceratops dino. I guess it's try 1, 2, 3. It's so cute. Steve was like, oh my god, can you learn how to make anything like this, and you can make me all the amigurumi? And I'm like, maybe I can do the basic amigurumi. Oh, I made a little turtle, but I'm not gonna show that on this one. But anyway, this is so cute, adorable, good colors. Love it. It does match honestly, it does match our theme. And then we also have a space, oh my god, of fun. Oh, there's 2. Oh my god, so cute. We have one blanket that has the crochet border and the fabric. I don't know how do you have to like make the holes to crochet into? That sounds like a nightmare. This fun cosmic colors, that is amazing. It's very like reminiscent of skating rinks, and of course space themed, which was the theme of Quinn's nursery. And it also gives me Toy Story Pizza Planet vibes. Love a good blanket. I know that they recommend, you know, that you don't give like small children or babies fully crocheted blankets because they can get their fingers tangled and stuff. And then a video game controller themed blanket, as a family that is in great support of video games. These are so awesome. Nice crochet borders. So that is cute, and thank you, Megan. Yeah, so we Steve and I went to our friends Megan and Ross's house for Halloween, and we got to hang out and eat snacks and talk about everything, kids and whatnot. And of course, because this is Quinn's first Halloween, we have to start a tradition of, as much as possible, doing family themed costumes. And so we had Quinn in like a very cheap onesie, Totoro onesie. It's so funny because I bought it ahead of time, and babies just change so much. Like, I probably would have tried to find him a more elaborate costume, but all the costumes that I looked at in general, not even Totoro themed, were 9 months and older. And at the time that I was buying the costume, he was smaller. And so I just didn't think there was anything like actual costume wise that he would fit into. But now he's like in the 6 to 9 month clothing, but it's like his legs are too long for a lot of the 6 months clothing. So yeah, he's like tall and lean. But anyway, he was Totoro and I was a Soot Sprite, and Steve was Cat Bus. And I must say I really liked our costumes, and I'm really excited to do something fun next year as well when he's, like a year and a half. That'll be so good. And that was really nice. So Tuesday we are planning on trying to hand out candy. Quinn will be in bed, of course, by the time people start trick-or-treating. But like what we did last year was we sat on our driveway and blasted music to lure people to us, and then handed out candy that way. But it's supposed to be pretty cold, so we don't have any like space heaters or anything. I'm hoping that we can just like sit outside bundled up and hand out candy that way, so we don't have to deal with people ringing the doorbell, and then we don't also have to like turn off the lights and not hand out candy like curmudgeons. So yeah, that's our Halloween plans. Let me know if you have any as well. And yeah, I think that is about it. I mean, we're getting into November. It's my birthday month. Actually, I have several siblings who also have birthdays in November, and a couple of friends even that have birthdays in November. November's a pretty popular month for birthdays. So that is always fun. And then we're starting to get into holiday season, and yeah. And then again, winter. So if you're new here, thank you for watching. Thank you for coming to check me out. Hope this podcast is for you. Hope you can listen to it while you're doing some other things. I know for me, I love having my weekly podcasts to watch on Sundays. It's just so nice to just get them all in a row and catch up on them. It's just so nice. And if you're returning, obviously I love seeing you. Thank you for coming back, and feel free to leave me a comment if you have anything to say. I look forward to talking to you again soon. Bye.